Picture this. You're standing in your kitchen. Morning light cuts through the blinds and sharp white lines. The coffee is still dripping. Your phone buzzes. One message. You read it once, then again. Your chest tightens. Heat rises to your face. Your jaw locks. The words feel like a slap. Maybe it's your boss. Maybe it's your partner. Maybe it's a comment online that shouldn't matter, but does. And suddenly, your entire body is preparing for war. Your thumbs hover over the keyboard. You're ready. Ready to defend. Ready to attack. Ready to prove something. But let me ask you something uncomfortable. How many of the worst moments in your life started exactly like this? Not with a catastrophe, not with some grand tragedy, but with a reaction. A split-second decision fueled by emotion. A sentence you wish you could swallow back. An email you shouldn't have sent. A door slammed. A relationship fractured. We think our problems come from what happens to us, but what if they actually come from how we respond? There is a quiet force in this world, invisible, underestimated, almost boring at first glance, yet it separates leaders from followers, calm minds from chaotic ones, powerful people from predictable ones, and it lives in a tiny space, the space between stimulus and response. Today, we begin exploring that space. And by the end of this journey, you'll see why mastering it may be the ultimate superpower.
Chapter 1. The Illusion of Urgency. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus was brilliant, top of his class, fast thinker, sharp-tongued, the kind of man who always had the perfect comeback. At work, he was known for it. Someone questioned his idea in a meeting? Boom, instant rebuttal. A colleague made a subtle jab. Boom, a sharper one in return. It felt powerful in the moment. He told himself, I'm just confident. I don't let people walk over me. But here's what Marcus didn't notice. Every time he reacted instantly, he surrendered control. His mood became dependent on other people's words, his focus shattered by minor provocations, his energy drained by arguments that led nowhere. One afternoon, his boss challenged his proposal in front of the team. Marcus felt it again, that familiar surge, the heat, the rush, the need to strike back. And he did. His words were precise, cutting, technically correct. The room went silent. Not impressed, just uncomfortable. 2 months later, Marcus was passed over for promotion, not because he lacked skill, but because he lacked composure. Here's the truth most people miss. Reacting feels powerful, but it's often weakness disguised as strength. When someone provokes you and you immediately respond, you're not in control, they are. Your emotions become remote-controlled by the outside world, and the world loves pushing buttons. Social media comments, traffic, passive-aggressive coworkers, family members who know exactly what to say to trigger you. Modern life is engineered for reaction. Notifications are designed to hijack your attention. News headlines are crafted to provoke outrage. Algorithms reward emotional extremes. The faster you react, the easier you are to manipulate. But powerful people operate differently. They understand something simple yet radical. Not every stimulus deserves a response. Sometimes silence is strategy. Sometimes pause is dominance. Sometimes doing nothing is the strongest move available. Think about a lion. When a small animal makes noise in the distance, the lion doesn't leap wildly at every sound. It watches, assesses, conserves energy. It reacts only when necessary. Humans, however, exhaust themselves chasing every rustle. The illusion of urgency convinces you that you must respond immediately. You don't. The email can wait. The argument can wait. The text can wait. That pause, even 5 seconds, interrupts the emotional hijack. In those seconds, something extraordinary happens.
You move from instinct to intention.
And that shift changes everything. Chapter 2. The Ego's Hunger. Now, let's go deeper, because the real reason we react isn't urgency, it's ego. Let me introduce you to Sarah. Sarah prided herself on being kind and rational, calm even, until someone questioned her confidence. One evening, at a dinner party, a friend casually said, "Are you sure that's accurate? I read something different." It was subtle, harmless even, but Sarah felt it, a tightening in her stomach. Her mind began racing. "They think I'm wrong. They think I'm not smart. I need to correct this." Her voice sharpened. She doubled down, pulled out her phone, started searching for proof. The table grew quiet. The night shifted. Later, driving home, she replayed the moment over and over. Why did that bother me so much? Because the ego is fragile. It constantly seeks validation. It craves being right. It fears being diminished. And when the ego feels threatened, it demands immediate defense. Reaction is often just ego protection. But here's the irony. The more desperately you defend your image, the weaker you appear. Truly confident people don't rush to correct every misunderstanding. They can tolerate being misjudged. They can survive being underestimated. They don't crumble under disagreement. Why? Because their identity isn't dependent on constant external approval. When you don't react, something fascinating happens. You observe. You notice the emotion rising. You feel the heat in your chest. You sense the impulse to speak. But instead of obeying it, you watch it, like a scientist observing a chemical reaction in a glass container. You realize something liberating. You are not your first impulse. You are the awareness behind it, and that awareness gives you choice. Imagine Sarah at that dinner party again. This time, when her friend questions her, she pauses. She takes a sip of water. She smiles lightly and says, "That's interesting. I might look into that." No tension, no escalation, no ego battle.
The energy stays calm. And here's the hidden advantage. By not reacting, she remains centered. She preserves dignity. She protects relationships. She keeps control. The ego screams, "Defend yourself." Wisdom whispers, "You don't need to." Most conflicts don't escalate because of facts. They escalate because of identity. And when you stop tying your identity to every opinion, every comment, every disagreement, you become unshakable. This is the beginning of real power. Not loud power, not aggressive power, quiet power. The power of choosing not to react. And in the next part, we'll uncover how to build that power intentionally, how to train your mind to remain calm in chaos, and why emotional restraint isn't suppression, but mastery. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you chose silence, even though you had the perfect response ready? Not because you were weak, not because you didn't know what to say, but because you decided it wasn't worth your peace. If you're honest, those moments are rare, because we've been trained to believe that expression equals strength, that speaking up instantly means confidence, that clapping back means dominance. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most reactions aren't strength, they're reflex, and reflex is mechanical. Chapter 3. The Gap That Changes Everything. There's a tiny gap in every emotional moment. It's almost invisible, so small you could miss it. Imagine you're driving home after a long day. Traffic is heavy. Your head aches. You're already irritated. Suddenly, a car cuts you off, aggressively. Your heart jumps. Your hands grip the steering wheel. Adrenaline floods your system. You want to honk. You want to yell. You want to speed up and prove something. That entire surge happens in milliseconds. But right there, between the car cutting you off and you slamming the horn, is a gap. It's a crack in the wall.
Most people don't even know it exists. They believe, they cut me off, I get angry. Automatic, inevitable. But that's not true. It's actually, they cut me off, I interpret it, I feel anger, then I react. That interpretation step, that's the gap.
And that gap is where your power lives. Think of your mind like a courtroom. A stimulus enters, like that reckless driver. Immediately, your inner prosecutor stands up. Disrespect, careless, how dare they? But if you pause, even briefly, you can call in another voice. Maybe the driver is rushing to the hospital. Maybe they didn't see you. Maybe it has nothing to do with you at all. You see, emotions feel automatic, but they are built on meaning. Change the meaning, you change the emotion. Let me give you another example. Your boss sends you a short email. See me in my office. No emojis, no explanation. Instant tension. You start imagining worst-case scenarios. Did I mess up? Am I getting fired? But notice, nothing actually happened yet. The suffering is coming from the story you're telling yourself. The gap is where you rewrite the story. Instead of, I'm in trouble, you could say, it's probably routine. Or better yet, I'll find out soon. That shift seems small, but physiologically it changes everything. Your heart rate stays steadier, your thoughts stay clearer, your response stays controlled. When you don't react immediately, you give logic a chance to enter the room. Without that pause, emotion becomes dictator. With it, emotion becomes advisor. And here's the deeper why. Every time you react impulsively, you strengthen a neural pathway. It's like carving a trail through grass. Walk it once, barely visible. Walk it daily, it becomes a highway. The brain loves efficiency, so if anger becomes your default response, it will fire faster each time. But when you pause, when you resist reacting, you interrupt the old pathway, and slowly you build a new one. Calm becomes familiar. Stillness becomes natural. Not reacting isn't suppression. It's retraining. It's rewiring. It's refusing to let your nervous system run your life.
Chapter 4. Emotional Economy. Let's go deeper. Imagine your emotional energy as money. Every reaction costs you something. A heated argument? Expensive. Holding on to resentment for days? Very expensive. Replaying an insult in your head all night? That's emotional debt. Now think about how casually we spend it. Someone makes a sarcastic remark, we spend energy stewing over it. A stranger leaves a rude comment, we donate hours of mental focus to them. A minor inconvenience, and we give it premium real estate in our minds. It's like handing out $100 bills to anyone who annoys us. But powerful people are emotionally frugal. They ask one silent question before reacting. Is this worth my energy? Most things aren't. Let me tell you about Daniel. Daniel used to argue online constantly. Politics, sports, random debates. He was articulate and quick. But after every argument, he felt drained. Not victorious, drained. One day, he noticed something strange. The people he debated, they didn't change. The arguments, they never ended. And the only consistent outcome was his exhaustion. So he experimented. Next time someone provoked him online, he typed a response, then he deleted it. His heart raced. It felt like swallowing pride. But then something unexpected happened. Nothing. No collapse, no loss of identity, no catastrophe, just silence. And in that silence, relief. He realized something profound. Not reacting is not losing. It's opting out of unnecessary battles. Most of the fights we engage in are optional. We think they're mandatory because our ego feels attacked. But the truth? You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to correct every misunderstanding. You don't have to defend every opinion.
When you choose not to react, you conserve energy, and conserved energy becomes focus. Focus becomes clarity. Clarity becomes power. Here's the paradox.
The person who reacts to everything appears strong, but is easily controlled. The person who reacts selectively appears quiet, but is untouchable. And there's something even deeper happening beneath all of this. When you stop reacting impulsively, you start observing patterns. You notice who tries to provoke you. You notice what topics trigger you. You notice how predictable human behavior really is. And that awareness creates emotional independence. But here's where it gets shocking. The more you master not reacting, the more influence you gain. Because calm is disarming. Silence makes people uncomfortable. When you don't react as expected, you disrupt the script. And when you disrupt the script, you control the frame. In the final part, we're going to uncover the massive secret behind this. The realization that changes everything about power, respect, and influence. And once you see it, you'll never react the same way again. Now here's the truth most people never discover. When you stop reacting, you don't just gain peace, you gain power. Real power. The kind that doesn't shout, the kind that doesn't prove, the kind that doesn't chase validation, the kind that makes people lean in. Chapter 5. The Unpredictable Mind. Human beings are pattern readers. We predict each other constantly. If I insult you, you'll defend yourself. If I criticize you, you'll explain. If I provoke you, you'll react. It's a script. And most people follow it perfectly. But when you don't react, the script breaks. And when the script breaks, control shifts. Imagine someone trying to beat you into an argument. They expect tension. They expect resistance. They expect heat. Instead, you give them calm, a steady voice, measured words, or even silence. Now they're off balance, because calm is unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. Think about the strongest presence you've ever felt in a room. Was it the loudest person? Or was it the one who didn't need to speak to command attention? The one who listened more than they talked? The one who didn't rush to fill silence? The one who responded slowly, deliberately? Stillness creates gravity. People feel it. Because in a world addicted to reaction, composure is rare, and rare things are valuable. When you master non-reaction, you stop being easy to read. You stop being easy to manipulate. You become steady.
And steady people lead. Chapter 6. The Inner Throne. Now we go deeper. This isn't just about arguments. This is about identity. Most people live as emotional puppets. A compliment lifts them. An insult crushes them. A bad day defines them. A good day inflates them. They are constantly moving, up, down, because their sense of self is external. But when you learn not to react impulsively, something shifts inside you. You take your seat, your inner throne. You realize, I do not need to respond to everything. I do not need to be understood by everyone. I do not need to win every exchange. That realization is freedom, because reacting is often fear in disguise. Fear of being disrespected, fear of being overlooked, fear of being wrong. But when you are secure, you don't rush, you don't chase, you don't explode. You choose, and choice is sovereignty. Picture a storm, wind screaming, rain slamming against windows, thunder shaking the sky. Now picture a mountain inside that storm. It doesn't argue with the wind. It doesn't fight the rain. It remains. That's the mindset. You don't suppress emotion. You feel it fully, but you don't let it move you.
You experience anger without becoming it. You experience criticism without collapsing under it. You experience praise without being addicted to it. That is emotional mastery. And here's the shocking realization. The less reactive you are, the more respected you become. Because people trust stability. They trust composure. They trust someone who cannot be easily shaken. Not reacting doesn't make you passive. It makes you precise. When you finally speak, your words carry weight because they are chosen, not triggered.
Your 3-step plan, starting in the next 24 hours. This is where theory becomes practice. You don't build this power in a year. You start today. Step 1. The 5-second rule. For the next 24 hours, when you feel triggered, pause. Count to 5 in your head. Slowly. Feel your breath. Notice the sensation in your body. Do nothing until the 5 seconds end. This interrupts the automatic pattern. It creates the gap. Step 2. Ask one question. Before responding, silently ask, will this matter in a week? Most things won't. And if it won't matter in a week, it doesn't deserve your emotional energy now. Choose wisely. Step 3. Practice strategic silence. Once today, deliberately choose not to respond to something minor. A comment, a provocation, a small irritation. Let it pass. Observe how powerful that feels. You're not avoiding, you're selecting. And that shift from reacting to selecting is everything. Outro, the final realization. At the end of your life, it won't be the arguments you won that define you. It will be the storms you remained steady in, the moments you chose dignity over ego, clarity over chaos, stillness over noise. The world will keep pushing, keep provoking, keep testing. But you don't have to move. You can be the calm center, the quiet force, the presence that doesn't break. Because the greatest power isn't in controlling others, it's in controlling yourself. And once you master that, no one can control you again. If this shifted something inside you, subscribe for more deep dives like this. And in the comments, tell me, what situation in your life right now would completely change if you simply chose not to react? I'll see you in the next one.